Hello everybody, happy Wednesday. It is the middle of our work week and our school week, and I hope you are having a great week. Today we continue with lesson 23. We did session 2 today. It was pretty much the same thing we did on yesterday, still looking at equivalent fractions, focusing again on number lines, and we did do some models as well. On the back side of the homework sheet, you'll see the models when we did the fraction bars. So basically, we're just looking at finding equivalent fractions by looking at it on a number line or shading in the fraction bars to figure out what would be equivalent. So that's what today's lesson was. So let's go ahead and jump right on in. Homework started today at 503, and the back side is 504. Okay, so number one, it says, let's look at the directions first. Use the number line to complete the equivalent fractions in problems 1 through 3. So these are problems 1 through 3. We're going to use this number line. All right, so I wonder if I should zoom in a little bit more so you can see let's see if I can go a little bit more on that number line, make the number line a little bigger. All right. So number line's a little bit bigger, so you can see it a little bit better, hopefully. Now, so all we're doing is looking at fractions that share the same point, or we call it a tick mark, or you can say a line on the number line. That's what we're looking for, fractions that share that same area. So on this number line, we have about 3 of them. So I'm going to go ahead and circle those 3. Now what I do is I tell my kids, if you go in and you circle the fractions that share the same tick mark or the same line, then it makes it stand out and it's easier for you to see it. Because I know sometimes if it's just like this, it just seems all jumbled up. But if you circle those fractions that share the same tick mark, then it kind of stands out at you. So that's what I'm going to do. So when I look at here, I see that 1/4, let me get a different color. I don't like that blue. 1/4 shares the same line or tick mark as 2/8. And then I see 2/4 share the same tick mark as 4/8. And I also see 3/4 share the same tick mark as 6/8. So now that I've circled them, I know these fractions are popping out at me, and I know that I will probably be using these fractions to help solve these problems right here. So let's start with number 1. Number 1 says 1/4. Well, we did circle one that had 1/4. And it said it is equal to blank 8. Well, that is 2/8. So that means the numerator is 2. Okay, and remember, numerator is, sorry, that's my watch talking to me, guys. The numerator is the top number in your fraction, is the number that is above the fraction line. It is also tells you how many parts you have shaded. Okay, so for number 2, 6/8. Well, when I go on my number line and it's the 6/8, and there's a fraction that shares it's with that 6/8, it's 3/4. So over here, I know the numerator here is going to be 3. Okay, and then for number 3, we have 2/4. So when I go to my number line, this one I circled had 2/4 in it, and it shared the fraction of 4/8. So this one doesn't have a numerator or a denominator. The denominator is the number that is below the fraction bar, and it also tells you how many total parts you have. So I'm going to put the fraction 4/8. And by us going in and circling in that, it made it really easy and quick and fast for us to be able to see what we were looking at, because it stood out. These 3 stood out. Okay, so we're going to go ahead and go to the back side of the sheet now where we're looking at the fraction bars. Okay, these are those fraction bars I was telling you guys about. Try to zoom in as much as I can, because I know sometimes it'd be a little difficult to see it on this board like this. Not like when I used to do the black screen and you can see it, but now now that we need the actual book, we have to put it on the white screen. So, number 4, this is the back side of that sheet, page 504, and it says, shade the models to show equivalent fractions in problems 4 and 5. Then fill in the blanks to write equivalent fractions. And believe it or not, I still had some kids that said, Ms. Newman, what does the word equivalent mean? And equivalent means equal. It's in the name. Equivalent, equal, same amount. Equivalent means the same amount. Equivalent, equal, same, it's in the name. Okay, so let's go ahead and look at number 4. So number 4 says, it gives us a fraction of 1/2. Okay, so they want us to shade in 1/2. So let's go ahead and do that. Okay, that is 1/2 shaded in. Now when I go to this side, I need to make this equivalent or equal to, this one has to be equivalent or equal to this one. So I have to shade in the same amount. So if I shade in just this amount here, and I look at it, so let's just look at it, okay? We're gonna shade in this amount. And then I'm gonna stand back and I'm gonna look at it and I'm gonna say, does that look equal to you? And my answer would be no, because clearly I can see this one has less shaded in than this one. So I'm gonna go ahead and shade in some more. Okay, so now I'm going to step back and I'm going to look at it, and now they look like they're equal. They are equivalent now. So now I can answer the question. It says blank 8. Well, how many 8s do I have? Well, this is 8 because there are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 total parts. And remember, our denominator tells us the total parts. So we have 8 total parts. So now I need to figure out how many parts I have shaded in of those 8. And we're going to count those. Those are going to be 1, 2, 3, 4. 4. So that means I am going to go ahead and put that answer of 4 8s. And that's all you have to do for number 4. You're going to do the same thing for number 5. So number 5 has 2/3. So that means the denominator tells me I have 3 parts. 1, 2, 3. My numerator tells me I'm going to shade in 2 of those parts. So let's go ahead and do that. So I have shaded in 2/3. Now we need to make this fraction bar equivalent to this one by shading in the same amount. And I'm going to go piece by piece just like I did for number 4. We're going to start off small by shading in my first one. But before I do that, let's look at our denominator. Our denominator is 6, so that means I should have 6 total parts. Let's count to make sure, because you know Ms. Newman loves a check. So let's go ahead and do that. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So our denominator checks out and we know we are on the right track. So let's go ahead and start shading in. We're going to do piece by piece. And I want to show you something too, because I had a student who asked me this, or they didn't ask me, I was checking their work, and it's not just one student that I saw, it was a few that made the same mistakes because they feel like this. This is how they feel. Well, this one had 2 boxes that I shaded in. So if I shade in these 2 boxes, it's 2 here and 2 there, so that's correct. And then so I had to explain to them, if you look at that, does that look like the same amount shaded in? And they would say, no, Ms. Newman, it doesn't. That's because this fraction bar has less shaded in than this one. It doesn't matter that we have two boxes shaded in here and two boxes shaded in there. That doesn't make it equivalent or equal. We have to look at the amount shaded in. We're not looking at how many boxes that we shade in. Just because I did 2 here and I did 2 here doesn't mean that it's finished, it's equivalent. Just like up here, I did 1 box here. Well, if I was to shade in just one of these boxes, then you can see that clearly that's not equivalent. So we're just looking at total amount shaded in, not how many boxes, but total amount. So when I look at this, I can see that this is less than that. So I'm going to go ahead and shade in some more of this. All right, there we go. So now I'm going to step back and I'm going to look at that and I'm going to say, yeah, that looks equivalent to me. They look equal. So now I can go ahead and put how many parts I shaded in. So on this one, I shaded in 1, 2, 3, 4. So my numerator is going to be 4. Okay, and that is it for numbers 4 and 5. We're going to go ahead and scroll up to number 6. That means I have to erase this. I'm going to kind of zoom this down a little bit so I can get 8 in with it as well. Just 1, 2, they go together. Okay, so here we go. Number 6, it says draw lines and shade to show equivalent fractions in problem 6 and 7. So this time, remember 4 and 5, they gave us the lines. This time we have to make our own lines and shade it in. Okay, so then it says, then fill in the blanks to write the equivalent fractions. So basically the same thing we did for 4 and 5, but this time we have to put the lines. So we're still shading in and we're still filling in the blanks to the missing numerators. So let's go ahead and do 6. So for 6, it says 1/2. So remember that the denominator 2 tells you how many parts. So that means I'm going to have 2 parts. So remember, when we are dividing up our fraction bars, we try to do it as equal as possible, because fractions is about being equal. It's like sharing. It's like dividing things up. One friend doesn't want to have more than the other friend, so we have to make sure we do it as equally as possible so that each friend will get the same amount. It's kind of like the same thing with fractions. We want to make sure we put our parts as equally as possible so that all the parts in the fraction have the same amount. So think about it that way. So 2 parts, I'm going to try to do it as equal as I possibly can. It's kind of hard to do it on this big board, but I'm assuming this is probably equal. So then my numerator of 1 tells me how much I am shading in. So that means I'm going to shade in 1. So let's go ahead and do that. Alright, so we have shaded in 1. So now this fraction bar matches my fraction here. So now let's go ahead and move on to the next one. Now for the next one, they gave me my denominator. It is 4. So 4 means I'm going to put this into 4 parts. So let's go ahead and put it into 4 parts. And remember, we're always trying to do it as equally as possible. Now, I have 4 parts. You can count them. 1, 2, 3, 4. So now we need to figure out what that numerator is going to be. Just like we did for 4 and 5, we want to shed in the amount that looks the same. Just because I shed 1 in here, and if I shed 1 in here, then we can see what it looks like. Because I know some students may be like, well, I shed 1 over there, so I'm going to shed 1 over there, now it's equal. Not necessarily true. So if I did one here and one there, and I step back and I look at it, and I'm saying to myself, that is not equal. This one has more than that one. So that means I'm gonna shade it a little bit more. Okay, so now that I've shaded them a little bit more, I'm going to step back and now it looks equal to me. So now I can go ahead and put my numerator, which tells me how many shaded parts I have. And I have 1, 2, so my numerator is 2. Let me do it in a different color, red. There we go. Okay, so 1/2 is equivalent or equal to 2/4. Okay, let's go ahead and go to number 7. So number 7 has 4 6. So we can go ahead and put this into 6 parts because my denominator is 6. Now, there are a couple ways we can do this. I can do it by dividing this up like into 6 parts going this way. This could be my 6 parts, or I could do it going like this. I can do 3 parts going this way, and then split these in half going across like that. That's another way we could do it. So I think I'm gonna go ahead and stick with this way. But either way you do it is fine. They both will give you the same thing. So with this, I have 6 parts. You can count 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And then my numerator tells me that I need to shade in 4 of the 6. So let's go ahead and do that. All right, there we go. So now our fraction bar matches our fraction of 4 6. We're gonna go ahead and go to the other fraction bar. Now with that one, they gave us a denominator of 3. So that means I'm gonna put this into 3 parts. And again, we're gonna do this as equally as possible. Sometimes when you close up on the board kind of plays tricks with your eyes, but I'm hoping that it looks fairly equal to me. Okay, so now I'm going to shade in the same amount that I shaded in over here. So I'm going to start off small. I like to start off small and work my way up. Start off small, step back, look at it. Okay, then if I need more, I can always add more. Sometimes when we start off big and we try to erase, it doesn't erase clearly, and then you can kind of see that you shaded in a little bit more than you needed to. So start small and then work your way up. So we're going to start small. Okay, then I'm going to step back and I'm going to take a look at it. And what I see is that this one has less than that one. So I'm going to work my way up and I'm going to shade in a little bit more. So now I'm going to step back, take a look at it. It looks equal to me. So now I can go ahead and put my numerator. So for my numerator, we count how many shaded parts we have in. And we have shaded in, and then we have 1, 2. So my numerator is 2. So now I know that 4 6 is equivalent or equal to 2/3. Okay? Let's go to number 8. Number 8 says, what is a fraction equivalent to 4/4? Explain how you know. So we can actually kind of look at one of these. So if I had a fraction that is equivalent to 4/4, let's look at these two models. And what I'm going to do, because the idea just clicked in my head, I'm going to do it on a number line. Let's do a number line. So I'm going to draw a number line. Do it in black. And then on that number line, it's going to start with 0, and I'm gonna end it at 1, and because it's 4, I'm gonna put it into 4 parts. And I'm going to label my number line. I'm gonna do it at the top, 1/4, 2/4, 3/4, and then 1 whole is 4/4. So now the fraction they wanted me to look at is 4/4. Well, that is gonna be here on my number line. So I'm just gonna put a point there. Now, I'm gonna look at this one here because, and the reason why I'm using this as an example, because this one had fourths and this fraction is equivalent to it and it had halves. So I'm gonna do it in my next number line into halves because I already know that fourths have some things that are equivalent with halves. So I'm gonna do that one into halves. So directly underneath it, I'm gonna do it the same size because when we are comparing, we use the same size. So I'm gonna start with 0, end it at 1, and then I'm gonna put it into halves. And then I'm gonna label this. This is going to be 1/2. And then my 1 is going to be 2/2. I'm gonna write it on the side because I'm kind of squished in there. So now, when I look underneath that 4/4, well, the fraction that lines up with that one and it is equivalent is 2/2. And how I know it says explain how I know, it's because they share the same point on the number line. They also share something else in common. They have a 1. That means that's 1 whole. That means 4/4 means 1 whole shape has been shaded in, all 4 parts. For 2/2 is 1 whole shape has been shaded in 2. So 2 parts have been shaded in out of 2, the whole shape. So not only do they share the same part, they also share the same whole number of 1. So it says, what is a fraction equivalent to 4/4? We will say 2/2 is equivalent, and it says explain how we know. Well, we know this. Hold on, this number made a little boo-boo. Is equivalent to 4/4 because they share the same, I want to say point, not point, but tick mark on the number line. And they both equal 1 whole. So they have other things in common as well. All right. So that is it for today. I will see you guys on tomorrow because we do have homework on tomorrow. Tomorrow is going to be our last day for homework. There will be no homework on Friday. And I will not be sending anything home on the weekend, on the Easter break, so our kids can get a little rest. So that, because when we come back, we are going to be going at it because LEAP is right around the corner. So I want my babies to have a little brain break. And once they have their brain break, we are going to be refreshed and we're going to hit that ground running when they come back. So I will see you guys on tomorrow. If you have any questions or concerns for me, go ahead and send me a message on PBIS or drop a comment in the comment section below. I will be more than happy to answer anything you send. Have a great rest of your day. See you on tomorrow. Bye.